Fling. There we go. Welcome into the I almost said it. Welcome into the Rant. I am Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery here in Dallas's Design District. This is a style of talk radio that you can't hear anywhere else. I started doing talk radio in 1992. I've done it in Chicago and Dallas for most of my career, but unfortunately, the brand of talk radio that I do doesn't find much interest in the terrestrial commercial world. So 3 years ago, I decided, fuck it, let's do this. You know what? Let's just do a talk radio show for normal people, because quite frankly, all the talk radio that I hear in this country fucking sucks. It's just like only for crazy people. This is talk for normal people. Normal people. We're just going to talk about the world. We do it every day. We get here around noon. And I perform a stream of consciousness rant, which is, based upon all the day's hot topics, current events, headlines, all that good stuff. The show, as we say, for 3 years now, every day, Monday through Friday, here on the RadioMisfits.com network, Radio Misfits. Every day I sit down here and I wake up early and I put together a list and I do, you know what? I'm going to just rant on this. Now, why is it a rant and why is it a stream of consciousness? Because this isn't commercial radio. Because I don't have commercials. Because we don't have breaks. We don't play music. We don't even chat with other people other than the occasional stop down to say hello to the chat room. That's always a pleasure. But this show is, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. Well, it started out 3 years ago with me doing it with a group of people because I'm an ensemble performer, or at least I'd always thought I was an ensemble performer. But nobody could do the show every day quite like me. Nobody else was willing to leverage their entire economic base to do this, which is understandable. Love of the game, baby. Professional athletes, they always have this love of the game clause, which means that they're allowed to do it even for free. Like if there's a pickup game, Michael Jordan can play in that pickup game. And if he gets hurt, the Chicago Bulls can't say anything about it because he's got a love of the game clause. This comes from the filming of the movie Space Jam. Michael Jordan built his own gym on the set of Space Jam. It would challenge everybody to games of basketball. And the Bulls were like, what? So they created the love of the game clause. I do that every day. Love of the game. 4 quarters is how this stream of consciousness on all the day's hot topics is going to play out. 4 quarters, segments, if you will. I call them that, and I've created these to keep me hemmed in, because a stream of consciousness, no breaks, no stops, no nothing, just whatever's next in your head, you say it. A stream of consciousness can sometimes, spin out into the weeds, and suddenly you're like 50 yards into a cornfield, and you're like, I was just on the road doing donuts. So the 4 quarters have been created. First quarter is called Antecedently on This Day. That's a look back at all the day's history. Not all the day's history. We take a look at some and we cherry pick. I'm like, this is an interesting thing that happened on this day in 1775. What the fuck? Look at this from 1962. That's quarter 1. Quarter 2 is birthdays. I like trashing celebrities. So, we take a look at all the people who are having birthdays today. And we decide whether or not we think they deserve a happy birthday. Or, go kick rocks. Quarter 3 is called the Deads. This is the same thing as quarter 2. Except it's the opposite. It's people who died. People who died on this day. Celebrities, notable quotables, historical figures. What we do here in quarter 3, we open up the books on them. And we're like, okay, let's look at their life. When they died, where did they go? Did they go to heaven or did they go to hell? That's what we do with the Deads. Quarter 4 is everything else. Quarter 4 is the California fires. Quarter 4 is Trump going to take over the world. Awesome. I'm all for it. Very complicated feelings I have on that. So we'll talk about that. Let's see. What else do I have some rants on today? We're going to talk about the head coaching search in football. That's going on. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and what a bunch of bitches they are. We're going to talk about that. Of course, we've got 72 hours left of life here in North Texas before the, what do they call it? They call it a extinction level snowstorm hits us, which has been dialed back a little bit. We'll talk about that as well in quarter 4. So that's how the show plays out. I also needs to be noted, we are in the middle of what we call a pledge week. Look down there. And Pledge week occurs once a month every month. It's how we pay for the show. We ask you for tips. We ask you for donations. We ask you to help out. Again, nobody's making a lot of money on this show, but it is enough to keep the lights on and keep us going. It typically runs. The show needs to generate roughly about $200 a week. I mean, $200 a week is like, no profit to anybody involved, but at least we can justify 2 hours a day, every day doing this in addition to our other things. And unfortunately, we always get to the end of the week and we have nowhere near the amount of money. So we have to do Pledge Week. And that's what we're doing right now. We're in the middle of Pledge Week. We needed at the start of this week, 5 shows, $50 a show. That's what we needed to raise. We started off really great, man. Byron and Peter jumped in on Monday. They got us over. They got us to 50 for Monday. Monday is paid for, people, which was very exciting. And then yesterday, hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. And then yesterday needs to be mentioned, Kim. Thank you so much to Kim. But before Kim, the return of Mama Beller. The return of Mama Beller. Barney also helped out yesterday. Thank you so much, Frankie, everybody. You guys got us to almost $100. You did. We are crushing it. I don't even know where we are. I did the math earlier today. And here's the other thing. I haven't even checked anything from this morning or whatever. So I don't know, but we'll give you that update tomorrow. But my God, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much to everybody. I thought this month is traditionally really, really difficult. I mean, I even had it listed on my notes on the calendar here. January, you will have no shame. That's what I wrote. January, you will have no shame. Well, I didn't need to abandon my shame because you people are crushing it. We're not there, but we're almost there. So whatever you got, if you support this kind of talk radio, the kind of talk radio that doesn't rely on partisan politics, doesn't carry water for billionaires, doesn't give a shit about really anybody except us, the normal people, the middle class, the working class. That's what this show is for, okay? It's no mansion on the hill bullshit here. We all know what we are. We're hardworking people. We love our families. We love our country. And there's so much bullshit that we see. And there's so much stupid shit we see coming from people who we otherwise thought were bright, right? Those people get all that stupid shit from other radio. You get it from here. That's what this show is. My pledge to you. Welcome in all. All right, small talk segment. Oh, here, I got to put this up. If anybody does want to help contribute to this month's total, I'll leave that up right there. There you go. Cash App, Venmo. That's how we do it. Appreciate you. Love you. I think we're still about 100. With 3 shows left. I mean, that's a pretty good place to be in. But don't tap the brakes. Help us out. And remember, if we go over, I tell you we go over on Friday or on Monday, depending on when the final total is. But we go over, it applies to next month, and it just makes next month even less. So thank you so much to everybody who helped out, especially Mama Beller, who I hadn't seen in a while. And when you do this kind of thing every day, you hope that over the course of time, you're revealed as someone who's probably complicated, but also well-rounded. Like, you're not going to agree with me on everything, but you might agree with me on some things, and that really shouldn't be a deal breaker for us. So when you do this and you have people and then they disappear for a period of time, you get concerned. You get sad. Not like, Mama Bella, I've known her since I'm 10 years old. Not because of that, because I would, God forbid anything should happen to any of my friends' mothers. I would know fairly quickly. But no, what I mean is, like, did I say something that made Mama Bella, a woman I've loved for 50 years, pissed off at me? Because that happens, It's like when you do talk radio or when you do opinion-based anything, it's like you'll run into somebody somewhere and they'll give you the cold shoulder and you'll wonder why. And you'll be like, oh, really? I said that pissed him off? So thank Mrs. Mama B back in the fold. Don't know what was going on. She seems to be okay, though, and that's good with me. Now, let's talk about some other important things. Small talk segment. I need to rally all my oldest and dearest friends from back in the 105.3 day. I'm talking to you, okay? I'm talking to you guys. We need to put out an Amber Alert on one of us. I don't mean to be glib about this because you get to be a certain age. Start to realize that, your next breath isn't guaranteed. So you don't take people for granted anymore. And you're like, So one of us has gone missing. And they've been missing now by my estimation, by my contact with them, for about 10 days, there's been a little bit of chatter on this person's social media networks. It's like, hey, has anybody seen? We were working together. He was a part of Radio Misfits Dallas. Somebody I'd worked with at 105.3 and other places for years and years, right? Going back 20 plus years. Went on to the Grammy trips with us. And I brought him in here to be our director, Misfits Dallas. I wanted his ideas. I wanted his expertise, but mostly I wanted his competence because I've, as I said, worked with him for 20 years. And I knew that when you tell him you can do something, he can do it. So we're looking for Devin Pike. Now, I don't want Devin's a guy about my age. I don't want to give anything away. But Devin and I had been working together on a project, and he missed a meeting. And then it turned out that he had missed the meeting because he was in the hospital. So I contacted him. I called him. I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? And he's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And he told me. And I said, well, I was like, well, okay, so how long are you going to be at? Now they're sending me home tomorrow. Sending me home tomorrow. So he goes home. Give him a couple of days. It's like, I'm not going to be like, hey, man, you promised, a breakdown on how you see this storyboard working out. I'm not going to do that. But I do call him a couple of days later. And I'm like, how you doing? And he's like, I'm still at home, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so I've been working on this thing. And I got this idea. He's like, I can't wait to send it to you, man. It's all I'm obsessed with. And I'm like, dude, stop it. Relax. Whatever's going on with you, unless this project we're working on is some sort of distraction that might benefit you in some way. But man, there's no pressure. There's no nothing. First, it's the week before, Christmas. You're fine. No big deal. Relax. Nothing's going to start rolling until the first of the year anyway. He's like, okay. A couple more days go by. I think I asked him another text. Hey, man, how you feeling? Just, thinking about you. I get a response. Still a little bit, whatever, shaky. I'm like, okay. But I'm not pressuring him, because the last thing that you want to do with somebody who you're partnered with in a project who's having a medical situation, the last thing you want to do is be like, hey, man, you're on deadline. You know what I mean? So I'm like going really slow, reaching out every couple of days just to check in to see how he is, but going above and beyond to let him know that this is not a, hey, let's get back to work call. This is to let you know you ain't allowed back to work until, you're okay. No hurry, man. Then a phone call went straight to voicemail. No callback. And a couple of days later, goes to voicemail again. I text him. How you feeling? Nothing. See, look at Adam. Really? Do you not have sense? What is wrong with you? Now is not the time. What is that? That is from Adam. Adam, you're somebody who is so quick to judge everybody's even slightest transgression against another. And then you're that tacky? What did you benefit from typing that? When you were typing that, what was going on? What was the influence? That's terrible. Anyway, I know Sam pops in. I know some other people pop in that know him and are concerned. So if anybody knows anything, contact me privately. Have him contact me if possible, because, that's where we are in life. This is where we are in life. Get to this point, man, I'll tell you, people around me are dropping like flies. There is no reasonable person who 20 years ago would have predicted that the people who dropped would have dropped before me. I mean, it's just not. Paco, maybe. I think we all thought Paco was a short fuse. I think we all knew that son of a bitch was burning way too bright. People get across 50 and all bets are off, y'all. You get across 50 years old and you're not old per se. You're older. I mean, maybe to a 25-year-old, you're old, but you're not old because, we're walking around here looking at, I got a 106-year-old woman that runs the Chicago Bears. I don't know if she's that old. I think she's pretty old. We stopped counting when it got embarrassing. So, 50 isn't that old. But once you cross it, that's when the wild cards start getting folded out of the deck. So like, hey, he's 51. He's totally fine. Oh, he's dead now. Because, he just didn't wake up. See, my extraordinarily healthy partner for that. Physical fitness nut. So that's where we are. So if anybody, and I know some people have weird associations. I didn't want to go public with this. But people have weird associations. You never know who knows who and by what way. And, so anybody who has any information out there about the whereabouts of Devin Pike, who is somebody I'm very concerned about right now, please let me know in the most, discreet way possible if that is of importance to you. So please help me out and let's move forward. Okay, there you go. Mama B's here now. Mama B, did you miss my whole little, you got to back this bitch up. Yeah, but I was just showing up now, Mama B. She took care of Tuesday for us, all by herself. And then we had Kim slide in. Kim's got us like 95% of the way through today's show. Barney, drop. Even Frank, we got to talk. I love Frank. I love me some Frank. Frank and I are like, I don't know how are Frank and I. Frank and I have been going back. I love Frank. Frank is like the most gentle, decent soul you're ever going to meet. But he's got shitty opinions. And Frank and I go back and forth, and he's so good. Frank, from time to time, tips a little something. And Frank helped us yesterday. So thank you to Frank. Frank is one of these guys. He doesn't tip a lot, but he tips consistently, and he is practicing the model that I would like. So thank you also to Frank, who tipping me like I am his bartender. It's wonderful. I appreciate it. But, sometimes I don't mention him the way that I mention, other people. Barney is also someone who tips so consistently, and I'm just afraid that I don't give him the appreciation. They are all members of our Furious 15, right? The people who have kept the show on the air for 3 years. So thank you all to everybody. Okay, let's get started here. Let's do the rant. The show is going to end on time today. Typically the show, stated to go to noon to 2. And today I got a meeting, so we're gonna be out of here fairly close to 2. But don't be like, oh, Pugs is slacking. I did like 4 hours yesterday. We make it up in the wash, as they say. All right, welcome into the rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 8th day of January, year of our Lord, 2025. Today is, it's the 8th day of the year. Let's see how that works out. There are 357 days remaining in the year. 358 if there was a leap year. We had a leap year yesterday, and it screwed up my count the whole time. Antecedently, right? That's the first segment that we do. Quarter 1, we call it antecedently on this day. Here we go. Adam, don't compound it. I'm not even going to read it. It was a shitty thing to say about, somebody who I was just stop. We're good, Adam. We'll just stop. But that is, a teaching moment where you can ask yourself why you felt compelled to say that, knowing that the real play would be to just shut your mouth or show some form of compassion for somebody who is maybe going through something that we all are vulnerable to, which is health problems. All right, moving on. Antecedently on this day, it's the very first quarter that we do. We take a look back at all the things that happened on this day in history, and I decide which ones are most interesting for us to rant on. So here we go. Antecedently on this day, only because I'm a Vikings fan. You guys like Vikings on the History Channel? Love it. Here you go. Season 3, episode 5, whatever, happened on this day in 871. Ethelred I and Alfred the Great lead a West Saxon army to repel an invasion by Danelaw Vikings. Oh, I'm just thinking about this. This isn't just Vikings. This story is also played out in the Last Kingdom. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it takes place. I think it's better represented in the Last Kingdom, the day that Ethelred and Alfred the Great led their Saxon army against the Vikings. Yeah, do you guys know that? Do you guys like Viking shit? If you like Viking shit and you like maybe the better known History Channel series Vikings, Ragnar. Oh, shit's so good. That is the Sopranos of the History Channel. It is the best thing that the History Channel has ever done. Vikings. It's so good. But then Netflix had another series completely unrelated called The Last Kingdom. Now, what's interesting about these two shows as companion shows, even though they have nothing to do with each other production-wise, both of these shows tell the same story, but from the opposite perspective. And it's freaking amazing. So Vikings is all about the conquest of England by the Vikings, and it's from the Viking perspective. The Last Kingdom is about how Alfred the Great and the Saxons and this other guy, Uhtred, I think he's a fictional character, Uhtred fought the Vikings when they tried to invade. It's amazing. It's pretty cool. So if you like that shit, and today, a big moment, Ethelred I and Alfred the Great. They beat the Vikings on this day in 871. On this day, antecedently in the year 1790, George Washington delivers his first State of the Union address from New York City. That's right, New York. It was the capital then. Antecedently on this day in 1877, Crazy Horse and his warriors fight their last battle against the United States cavalry at Wolf Mountain, Montana Territory. Now, I don't know much about Crazy Horse. I know he's a Lakota leader and all that stuff. But what I do know about Crazy Horse comes from my lifelong obsession with the promised Crazy Horse Memorial. Are you guys familiar with this? It's in the Black Hills. It's Crazy Horse over. Mount Rushmore? You know what Mount Rushmore is? Okay. So there is a Crazy Horse Lakota monument that is being carved into a mountainside in the Black Hills. Now, here's the thing, and this is why I say it's been a lifelong obsession of mine. I think when I was in middle school, somebody associated with this project came and spoke to my school. And they had these like really cool pictures and designs of what it was going to look like. And, the story of, it started in 1948. 1948 is when this mountain carving art project began. 1948. It's so badass. It's nowhere near being finished. It is not. I guess they ran out of money or something. But here, have you ever seen it? This is what it looks like. This is the Crazy Horse Memorial that's been under construction. All right, so here you go. So this is what it's supposed to look like. The white is what it's going to be, okay? And here and behind it, you see the mountain. They got the face. I think that's the face, right? Yeah, they got the face. All right, they seem to have the face, and they seem to have the start of the horse. His arm pointing, right? That's going to be his arm pointing. Look, they even look like they got a little muscle here already. So his arm pointing, and then this is the horse's head, I guess. Anyway, it's going to be badass. Let's see if there are any artist renderings of it. It's coming along slowly. And if I was a billionaire, if I'm like Elon Musk, but I'm not, Elon Musk didn't grow up here. So he didn't have a guy from the Crazy Horse Memorial Foundation come and speak to his school in 1984. So, maybe, but if I was Elon Musk, I would pay for this damn thing to get finished. I'd be like, let's do it in 12 months, a 12-month project. Because it's awesome. Look, there's the face. It's going to be cooler than Mount Rushmore. He's going to be pointing. Look at him. Hold on. Yeah, see? I don't know what's going on. Come on. There's got to be a cool picture of what it's going to look like when it's done. Well, that's the model. That's what he's working off of. So that's not good. All right. Anyway, there you go. What's he pointing at, you might ask? He's pointing at his ancestral lands, which lay beyond his pointed finger. Crazy Horse fought their last battle on this day against the United States cavalry, 1877. Antecedently on this day in 1964, President Johnson declares a war on poverty, and I'm here to tell you, poverty won. Are we counting the war on poverty and the war on drugs as wars this country has squandered in the last, since World War II? Antecedently on this day in 1973, the Watergate scandal, the trial of 7 men, the burglars, the trial of 7 men, the plumbers, I guess that's what they were known as. They weren't burglars, they were plumbers. Are any of them certified plumbers? Not a single one. But they're plumbers. They went on trial. Today in 1973, the 7 accused Watergate burglars. Antecedently on this day in 1982, the breakup of the Bell system in the United States, AT&T agrees to divest itself completely, I should say, of 22 subdivisions. This is when we first started hearing about AT&T. Like, I didn't know what AT&T was. My whole life growing up, I didn't know what AT&T was. AT&T was like some ghost company. It was like some ghost monolithic, that owned everything else, but I'd never heard of it. We heard of Bell. Where I lived in Chicago, we had Illinois Bell. My friends in California, they had Pac Bell, right? I guess there was Northeastern Bell, Southwestern Bell, right? Isn't that what we had here in Texas, in Dallas, Southwestern Bell? They operated all of these individual companies, and they were deemed a monopoly, and they were broken up. And then all of a sudden, we got AT&T stores everywhere. That was the time that the malls all started getting stores for your phone, which is something you never thought about before because the phone was in your house when you moved in. And the phone never broke. I mean, I don't know. I was a kid. Did phones break? I believe when the phone broke back in, say, 1979, a phone repairman came to the house. Yes? Isn't that how it worked? I don't know. Pretty sure. But then around about this time when they broke up the Bell system, then they started getting these AT&T stores and malls, and they're selling phones and cords. I don't know. It was weird. Saw a lot of things change in my life. That might be up there as one of the strangest. On this day, antecedently in the year 2011, sitting United States Congressman Gabby Giffords is shot in the head, along with 18 others in a mass shooting in Tucson, Arizona. Giffords survived the assassination attempt, but 6 others died, including John Roll, a federal judge. Oh, God. Saturday afternoon, campaign event. He's out in front shaking hands at a grocery store. Holy shit. I remember this. I remember this happened live. I was there. The TV was on in the background. I was puttering around in my house. It was a Saturday afternoon, this time of year. So, no football. Probably I hadn't engaged with college basketball yet because it's January and only serial killers are into college basketball in January. The fuck is wrong with you people? Anyway, so it's on because I had CNN on in the middle of the day on a Saturday. And man, I sat down and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This was some Central American shit. People assassinating. What a story too. Great story, man. She survived, man. I don't know. Terrible. It's terrible. 18 people shot. Antecedently on this day in 2016, Joaquin Guzman, widely regarded as the world's most powerful drug trafficker, is recaptured following his escape from a maximum security prison in Mexico. This is El Chapo. El Chapo, he had the tunnels. El Chapo, if I have this correctly, and I know this was a fact, a year or so ago, but I don't know how they move these people around. El Chapo was in a prison in Chicago. He's being held in a federal prison in Chicago. And I always wondered, a guy like El Chapo, how's he do in prison? Like me, if I was in prison with El Chapo, I would be like, oh, it's cool. I know El Chapo, That would be me. Like he would be, man, he's a famous guy. Hey, Chapo, what's happening? Like that. I'd be like, hey, everybody, here comes Chapo. I'd be a supplicant. What is El Chapo? But I wonder what the reality of that is. Like El Chapo, he's a fat, doughy 60-year-old man. Does he, probably older actually, if I'm being honest. So like, does he get his ass kicked? Are people like, I'm going to fuck up El Chapo. And then that dude gets a reputation. That's the dude that fucked up El Chapo. I don't know how it works for him. I don't know how it works. Maybe he's just protected. Maybe he's, and by protected, I mean by the feds. Maybe he's in like isolation. I don't know. Anyway, it was on this day, 2016. We caught El Chapo. That's going to do it for Antecedently on this day. Quarter 1 is in the books. Let's move on to the birthdays where we get to shit on celebrities. And let me tell you, today is a day where celebrities are taking a lot of shit. So let's get into this. Happy birthday, or is it, born on this day, 1926, to the late, great Soupy Sales. Soupy Sales was cool. He's happy birthday to Soupy Sales. Soupy Sales was cool. Here's what Soupy Sales was. Soupy Sales was, first of all, most Jewish name ever. Like his real name is, wait, let me give you his name. It's so funny because he grew up in North Carolina, like rural North Carolina. And you just got to wonder what life was like for young Milton Supman. Supman, that's it. Milton Supman. Who was Soupy Sales? Soupy Sales would become a children's television star in the late 1950s, 1960s, and then throughout the 1970s, when it was long past his expiration date as a children's star, he still was famous. He got put on TV shows. He was everywhere. So if you're Gen X, you remember Soupy Sales, even though he wasn't really a part of our childhood. He became something else. I think he started a show. Didn't he do a show in the 80s for us, though? Like, wasn't he a part of Kids Are People Too? Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember Kids Are People Too? I think Soupy Sales was like the original host. I don't know, whatever. Point is this. Soupy Sales had his career essentially extended because one dude thought he was the best. Sinatra. Sinatra loved Soupy Sales. Sinatra loved Soupy Sales so much that Sinatra did a number of appearances on Soupy Sales' kids show, which, is weird. That's like the time the Foo Fighters did Yo Gabba Gabba. It's like, what are they doing? But Frank Sinatra had kids, and his kids loved Soupy Sales. And his daughter, Tina, convinced him that he needed to go on Soupy Sales' show because Tina didn't care about, whoever Sinatra was friends with. Didn't care about Dean Martin, didn't care about John Wayne, didn't care. She wanted to meet Soupy Sales. So Frank Sinatra picks up the phone, says, I want to go do the sales show. And I'm bringing my kids. Celebrities still do this stuff. They still do this stuff. It's Yo Gabba Gabba is a great example. But it's why Jack Black is on Yo Gabba Gabba, because his kids love that show. So anyway, Soupy Sales and Frank became friends. And even after Soupy Sales was essentially blackballed by the industry, Frank was like, don't worry about it, baby. We'll ride this out. So what did Soupy Sales do to get blackballed by the industry? On January 1st, 1965, miffed at having to work on the holiday. So he was working on New Year's Day and he was angry about it. He's trying to do a kid's show. It's New Year's Day. He's drunk. He's hungover. He's Soupy Sales, man. The guy was not, he was, he hung out with Frank is my point. So Soupy Sales is pissed that he's got to work on New Year's Day, do this live kids show. On January 1st, 1965, miffed at having to work on the holiday, Sales ended his live broadcast by encouraging his young viewers to tiptoe into their still sleeping parents' bedrooms and remove those funny green pieces of paper with pictures of U.S. presidents from their pants and pocketbooks. Put them in an envelope and mail them to me, Soupy Sales. And I'll send you a postcard from Puerto Rico. That's what he said on the air. He was obviously kidding. Got thousands and thousands of dollars. Thousands and thousands of dollars were sent to the studio, so they got freaked out. Several days later, substantial amounts of money had begun arriving in the mail. Sales stated that the total amount received was in the thousands of dollars, but qualified that by stating much of it may have been phony money. Sales said he'd been joking when he said that, which he obviously was. He was a little hungover. He still had a little Sinatra in him. Sales said that he was joking and that whatever real money had been sent was donated to charity. But as parents' complaints increased, management suspended Sales for 2 weeks. He would go on to find this a burden in the rest of his career, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But Frank was there for him. So Frank saved Soupy Sales. Happy birthday, Soupy Sales. He's pretty cool. I liked him. He's darker than you think, man. You can open up a can of worms on Soupy Sales and be like, that guy was fun. All right. Happy birthday, Soupy Sales. Born on this day in 1926. Born on this day in 1935. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley. Born on this day in 1942. No, you think I'm just going to skip over Elvis like that? I'm going to dedicate 10 minutes to Soupy Sales and then just be like, fucking Elvis. I can talk about Elvis. I can talk about how I'm banned for life from Graceland. It's a real thing. I don't know if it's enforceable. Like it's like 20, 30 years ago now at some point. I did a couple of things. I jumped in Elvis's swimming pool during the anniversary of his death as a live on the air radio stunt, and I was chased by security and I was tackled by security. And look, I've told it a million times. It's one of the coolest things that my son loves about me, that I am banned for life from Graceland. He thinks that is okay. Was never an Elvis fan. I am more of a fan and I am a devotee to the myth of Elvis. The myth of Elvis being all the crazy shit that Elvis was like rumored to have been up to. Getting it. He was nuts. Elvis was fun. I mean, you think the shooting of the TVs is no, that's nothing. Elvis had a trained monkey that he trained to pull girls' tops down. Yeah. He spent absurd amounts of money getting monkeys trained to run around his pool parties and pull down girls' tops. That was Elvis. He was awesome in that way. So funny. And by the way, it's the 1960s. These women expected it. That's just how the world was. I'm not saying that today it would be okay if, like, I don't know, Justin Bieber trained monkeys to pull girls' tops down. That would probably be frowned upon. But it's 1961. Nobody cared. Least of all the girls. The monkeys. The monkeys were probably the only ones that like, I don't want to be doing this. Tug. Where's my banana? Tug. So Elvis was, and the other thing about Elvis that I'll say, and I'll leave you with this. He's a talented guy. Talented guy. Had a beautiful voice. If I need if I need someone to fill a spot in like week 2 of the American Idol auditions, we could trot Elvis out. He'd come out and he could sing for us. He might make it to Hollywood. Probably not, though. Although he was handsome. That was part of the whole deal on Elvis, that he was hot. Elvis is overrated. Elvis is a part of the holy trinity of the great American entertainment frauds. Now, I've mentioned these before. There are others, but there is a holy trinity of American icons from the entertainment world who I will tell you are absolute frauds and not deserving of the level of regard that they seem to enjoy 50 years after their deaths. Okay, here we go. Here's the holy trinity of great American frauds. Elvis Presley, the aforementioned, it's his birthday. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe is such a fraud. She's not that hot. She's the most beautiful Hollywood icon who's ever lived. She's a fat chick. She's not hot. She's chubby. You know what? She would, NBA players would probably love her today, right? Because she was that, but she ain't hot, man. She was existing at the exact same time as Sophia Loren, as Audrey Hepburn, as Anne Margaret, and you guys are like 50 years later, you're like, Marilyn was an icon. She had bad hair. That hair sucked. Some moderate acting talent. I don't think she can act. And here's the other thing about Marilyn Monroe that I do not have a problem with, but other people should if they want to remain consistent. Marilyn Monroe was a big old hoe. That is undisputed. She slept with everybody. She slept her way to the top. And this is not... She was that girl. That's who Marilyn Monroe was. So I don't understand why she's this revered American icon when she's, doable, but, not great. She's not great. Bad hair. I mean, cute face, kissable face, body that is just like all over the fucking road. What is going on with her body? She's got no tits. She's got a big ass. I don't know what's happening here. Excuse me. So that's Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley, the great frauds. The other one is Bob Hope. Bob Hope, what do you do? Bob Hope, why are there like airports named after you? Why are we still like Bob Hope, one of the greats of America? Who the fuck decided this for us? Bob Hope, question, what do you do? Well, I come out on stage and I introduce people with talent. Okay, and for that, we're going to remember you like fucking Shakespeare. Are you kidding me? Bob Hope, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, the three great American frauds. All right, now you say, Pugs, what? You just don't like older? No, that's not it. It's they're undeserving. They're undeserving of the honors. Elvis Presley. Okay. What? Elvis Presley. Who would I replace Elvis Presley with? Who should have the acclaim that Elvis Presley has? Buddy Holly. Let's start there. Let's start with Buddy Holly. Why people don't fucking recognize what that genius was. Marilyn Monroe. I mentioned a whole bunch of other women who are not only better actresses, but far more beautiful. Sophia Loren, Anne Margaret, Audrey Hepburn, who I think is as close to being the most beautiful woman in the history of Hollywood, and Bob Hope. I don't know what he was, so I don't know how to. You know what Bob Hope is? Bob Hope is fucking Mr. Beast. That's what Bob Hope is. What the fuck are you, Mr. Beast? I thought Mr. Beast was a celebrity chef for like 2 years, and now it's like, no, he does stunts. What? I don't know why Bob Hope is remembered. All right, let's keep going. So happy birthday, Elvis. You're overrated. You were early. You were early and you were good early. And so you set the bar. But the bar that Elvis set has been hurdled thousands of times. It's like, okay, we don't have to. He was first. We'll give him that. He goes into the Hall of Fame in the Legends of the Game category, but not as a first balloter. Are you nuts, Elvis? All right. Born on this day in 1942, Stephen Hawking. Boy, this guy took a beating, huh? At the end of his life. Spends his whole life in a wheelchair. He's the smartest guy in the world. Got all kinds of acclaim. I don't know how he enjoys it because, you know, he's Stephen Hawking. He's cool. You're Stephen. You're a celebrity. Horrible. Anyway, so I always had this compassion for him. A Brief History of Time, the book, is a book that I have been lying about having read for decades. Never got through it. You ever tried to read A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking's book? Oh my God, back in the 90s, you had to read it or you were a dummy. And I decided at that moment, I guess I'm a dummy because I can't get past the first page. I don't know what this got. Quantum what? What is this? Is this a book with words about math? It was very awful. And then at the end of his life, he became a pedophile from Epstein Island. So, you know, this is your life, Stephen Hawking. Born on this day in 1942. Born on this day in 1947, one of the absolute greats. One of the absolute greats, one of the absolute iconoclasts of music, of entertainment. I don't know what he is. He's a culture guy. He's as important singularly as I think anybody else has been singularly to music, all genres of music, everything from R&B to rock, to grunge rock, to punk rock. Of course, you know, the inventor, if you will, or the perfecter, you can say. You might give Mark Bolan credit as being the inventor of glam rock, but David Bowie, the perfecter of glam rock, but not all he was. David Bowie, born on this day in 1947. Bowie was fascinating, man. Whether it was, you know, any of his, you know, Davy Jones, that's who he was. That was his name. His name was Davy Jones, but there was already a guy in the Monkees named Davy Jones, so he had to change his name to David Bowie. Why? Because he was fascinated with the American West and American 1950s cowboy TV. And Jim Bowie, I guess, is who he named the Bowie knife or whatever. It's something that David Bowie, that's as legend goes, where he got that name from. David Bowie. Okay, so what's your favorite era of David Bowie? Like, I guess a lot of people would say Ziggy Stardust era. You know, that's pretty cool. That's certainly up there. There are no bad. I'm a more Thin White Duke guy. Like, I like late 70s into the early 80s Bowie. You know, where he was getting funky, he was dating black girls, you know, he was getting like a little bit more Manhattan as opposed to the Ziggy stuff was all like weird German stuff. It's like, let's go to Germany and create weirdness, you know, and they did that. But then Bowie sort of transitioned. He started working with guys like Nile Rodgers in the disco scene, and he got this kind of gritty, soulful kind of thing there in the late 70s. That's the Thin White Duke era. That's my era of Bowie that I prefer. Although I like them all. Modern Love. I love Modern Love. That show cannot come on, or that song cannot come on without me just immediately going. Is that Adrian Belew? That guitar? You know, the opening guitar riff for Modern Love? Or is that Stevie Ray Vaughan? I know Bowie also worked with Stevie Ray. Not sure. Anyway, chat room. There's music dorks in the chat room. You might be able to tell me very quickly if that was Adrian Belew playing lead guitar in Modern Love, or if it was Stevie Ray Vaughan. At any rate, that's a great riff. It's just a great driving riff. That's the era. That's an interesting era in music, because if you look at the 1970s, you had David Bowie and you had Elton John, and both of them were incredibly successful. And then they hit this period of time, the disco era, and one of them, David Bowie, just made it this incredibly cool avant-garde art kind of thing. And Elton John started doing shit like I'm Still Standing. Yeah. Elton John took the Billy Joel road to corniness. Anyway, David Bowie, born on this day in 1947, born on this day in 1955, another great one. Certainly not in the league of David Bowie, but a dude that I had a beer with once. I say I had a beer with, but we were in the same area, we were in the same bar with the same people, and I got to meet him and say, hey, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. He was really cool. Really normal, and dare I say, super funny. And that is, of course, Mike Reno of Loverboy. Why don't you turn me loose? Turn me loose. Turn me loose. Everybody's working for the weekend. Wah-na-na-na-na-na-na. Born on this day in 1955. Cool guy, Mike Reno. Born on this day in 1967. Not a cool guy. R. Kelly. Fucking weirdo. God damn it. I hate this. We got to claim this one. Jesus, man. What is going on with Chicago musical geniuses? And yeah, make no mistake. People are complicated. R. Kelly's a musical genius. R. Kelly is like a symphonic savant. I mean, he's just, but he's also like, the other stuff that we know for R. Kelly. He's from Chicago. And we were so proud of him for so long. Like, the South Side community, black community, urban music, culture in Chicago was like, we got R. Kelly. I believe I can fly. And then he started peeing on kids. And we're like, what? Nah, fam. We can't have that. And it was okay for, that aspect of Chicago entertainment and culture, because we had this other guy on the rise. And we're like, that's okay. We can forget about R. Kelly. We got a new genius. His name's Kanye. And then, oh my God, Kanye broke bad too on us. We're like, oh shit, what is going on with South Side artists? I mean, we got Common. Common's cool. He's very dignified. We like that. Chance the Rap. Chance is great. Chance is very dignified. But how do you get rid of the stink of R. Kelly and Kanye West? I don't know. R. Kelly, born on this day in 1967. Born on this day in 1976. Jenny Lewis. Jenny, what are you, Jenny Lewis? I dated a girl. She's a big Jenny Lewis fan. When we went and saw her in Chicago, and it was fine. She's a talented girl. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the chick from, like, I knew her as an actress. Like, she's an actress. I go, I'll go see that. She all right. She all right. I'm like, pick a lane, baby. What are you, a chick from a show I used to watch, or are you a musician? I wasn't familiar with any of the material, and I was there sort of social butterflying, whereas the girl I think the girl I was with is like a Jenny Lewis lesbian, because apparently that's a thing, because there were a lot of them there as well. But yeah, she was like all into the show, and I'm like, yeah, pretty good. Should have been familiar with her before I went to the show. I mean, other than her TV work, because anyway, happy birthday, Jenny Lewis. You seem like a nice person. I'm just, you were. It wasn't a great show. I mean, look, if I'm being honest, I'm trying to be nice. And I'm like, why am I trying to be nice? Well, because it's her birthday and she did seem okay. But it wasn't my thing. It was chick rock. It was not even chick rock. It was like chick folky acoustic, kind of. I don't even know what she was singing about. I don't know. I assume like boyfriends and stuff. That's just me being a misogynist. You know what she wasn't singing? If Jenny Lewis had gotten up at that show and went, why don't you turn me loose? Turn me loose. I'd have enjoyed that show better, but I'm an old man. I'm an old white man. What do you want from me? Born on this day in 1976, Jenny Lewis. Born on this day in 1987, or so we're told. Her fabricated human papers have been said that she was born in 1987. Cynthia Erivo. I think we all know that fucking chick is from another planet. I don't even know where. Cynthia Erivo. You know who I'm talking about? I didn't know who this person was until a couple of weeks ago. She's one of the stars of Wicked. She's the girl that, like, Ariana Grande is always like reaching out to. And she's like, she comes from a planet where apparently you grow your fingernails like 20 inches and you shave your head and you have like stuff. I don't know what's going on with her. Her look, which, by the way, let me state this, although I don't feel I have to because of the Trump win. Remember, rules are different now. But I will state this. There's nothing wrong with her look, okay? She is presenting a look, and I'm commenting on the look. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm stating a fact. That look isn't something I'm comfortable with. But happy birthday, Cynthia Erivo. You look like something from a movie where I'm supposed to be scared. You look scary, okay? Can we just say you look frightening? A shaved head. Are your teeth fangs? Because that's how I imagine it. It might not be, but I imagine like fangs too. You look scary to me. Happy birthday. New superstar. She's a superstar. Cynthia Erivo. I've never heard of her. I think she's a Broadway person. Born on this day in 1987. All right, that's going to do it. Let's go into the next quarter. This is dead people who have died on this day. We got to go quickly here because we're already in the second hour of the show. My God, dead people. Here are the people who've died. Here are the people who've died. All right, here you go. Let's see. I don't need this. First person to die, dead on this day in 1991. Oh, this is, okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. I'll spend a moment on this guy because this guy's somebody that I'm familiar with. Dead on this day in 1991, Steve Clark. Steve Clark, of course, lead guitarist for Def Leppard. Steve Clark. I talk a lot about like guitar players, and I'm famous for saying, you realize that there are over 1,000 greatest guitar players ever, right? People always like, who's the greatest guitar player ever? There's thousands of the greatest guitar player ever. How do you even begin? You get to a certain level with dudes who play guitar where it's all just second nature anyway, man. It's all just, maybe you're not dude at Guitar Center in like San Francisco might be the greatest guitar player in America. And he's just like a dude who works at Guitar Center because he never got the break, whatever. Guitar players, people who have mastered that instrument have perfected it, and many have. So let's not get into who's the greatest guitar player of all time. But when people do talk about that, I don't know that Steve Clark gets the credit that he deserves. And I think that he does deserve credit because he was a terrific lead guitarist for Def Leppard. He was fantastic. He was also one of the world's greatest raging alcoholics, which you would think would, screw with his playing. And maybe it did because Def Leppard told him to take a leave of absence. 1990, Def Leppard said, Steve, baby, you're too important to the band. Hey, guys, we're already working with a one-armed drummer. We need a sober guitar player. So they wanted Steve to get sober. So Steve went and got sober. And, here. Just have this here. I'll just read this to you. English singer-songwriter Steve Clark. Weeks prior to his death, Clark was found unconscious inside a bar in Minneapolis and was rushed to Hazleton Addiction Treatment Center. His bandmates all subsequently flew to Minneapolis to be with him. There, a doctor urged them to convince Clark to enter rehab after he registered a blood alcohol level of 0.59. 0.59, and he lived. Goes on to say here, by contrast, Led Zeppelin's John Bonham had a blood alcohol level of 0.41 when he died in 1980. So Bonzo, Bonzo was the biggest drinker ever, who died from drinking. Bonzo's blood alcohol was 0.41. Steve Clark survived a 0.59. Hey, good for him. Good for him. Didn't take. He went into rehab. He got clean. He met a girl. Oh, here, how about this? He met a heroin addict in rehab. And they got married, and they were like, we're going to keep each other clean. And that lasted like 2 weeks. They got out of rehab, and she was back on heroin, and he was back drinking, and now he was using heroin, which was new for him. But hey, you got to have things in common with your life mate, I suppose. So that's how he died. All right. He went to hell. He's Steve Clark. He's a rock star. He probably acted like a jerk off to a lot of people. He's got the shroud of, I was drunk. It doesn't matter. You still did it, you fucking prick. All right. Dead on this day in 1994, Pat Buttram. We're putting this son of a bitch in hell. You don't even know who Pat Buttram is. But when I tell you who he played, you're going to be like, oh yeah, fuck that guy. Any Gen Xers out there used to watch Green Acres? Green Acres is the place to be. Wop, wop, wop. Boop. He played Mr. fucking Haney. Remember that son of a bitch? Remember that dude? Oh my God. Even as like 5 years old, I'm watching Green Acres and you see Mr. Haney's truck come rolling up and I'm like, fucking, what does this guy want? What does this piece of shit want? Mr. Haney was the dude who went farm to farm. He was a medicine salesman. He was like, hey, have I got an elixir for you? He was one of these con men. We used to drive around. Pat Buttram, we'll put him in hell. He played Mr. Haney. I was 5 years old and I knew that guy was a piece of shit. Dead on this day in 1994. Dead on this day in 2002. How about the great Dave Thomas? Dave Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. No, not the Dave Thomas from Saturday Night Live. Or SCTV, I should say. Or Grace Under Fire. That was another show that Dave Thomas was on. This is Dave Thomas from Wendy's. This is I guess the more famous Dave Thomas. Like the Dave Thomas from Wendy's is far more famous than the Dave Thomas from SCTV, right? Because the Dave Thomas from SCTV is only like super famous and like on the Mount Rushmore of like super funny people for folks who know what SCTV is. And that's a small group. So, but in the greater expanse of the world, I think the dude who started Wendy's, I think he's probably more famous. So it's that guy. That's the guy we're talking about. He died on this day in 2002. Interesting backstory about him. Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas started out working for Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was Colonel Sanders. He was one of Colonel Sanders' top boys. He literally started work, like his first job at 16 was in a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And he rose up in the company to be somebody who, Colonel Sanders would listen to. And it was Dave Thomas who introduced the bucket of chicken. One of the most successful and revolutionary, it's so simple, right? Now we think about it and we're like, well, why wouldn't they use a bucket? Well, nobody had really thought of a bucket. Dave Thomas thought of a bucket. He branded it. Kentucky Fried Chicken became hugely successful with their bucket deals and buckets of chicken. He didn't feel like he was compensated the way that he should have been for the incredible success of his bucket innovation. So Dave Thomas left. He took the franchise model that he was certainly a part of perfecting with Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he started a hamburger restaurant based on his daughter called Wendy's. Wendy's. Dave Thomas. I'm putting Dave in heaven. I like everything about that guy. I told you the other day how I read I've read the Herb Kelleher book, Nuts, about how he created Southwest Airlines. I read Art of the Deal by Trump. Who else were we talking about? What was the other one? Anyway, doesn't matter. Don't get distracted. It wasn't a book on Dave Thomas, but it was a book on Colonel Sanders that I read at one point that had all of these really cool stories about Dave Thomas. I'm like, that dude's great. All right, hope he goes to heaven. There you go. And, he's girl dad. You got to appreciate that. He's like, the most important thing in the world to me is my beautiful little daughter. And he put his ugly little redheaded daughter on a sign, and he's like, isn't she beautiful? And everybody was like, not really. And he's like, she's my little girl. Got to appreciate that. That dude goes to heaven. Dead on this day in 2007, Yvonne DiCarlo, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know who Yvonne DiCarlo is? Let's take a look at Yvonne DiCarlo, shall we? Come on. Is this picture not going to download? There we go. Again, the whole world is like, Marilyn Monroe is the most beautiful woman on the planet. And there's people like spares, like Yvonne DiCarlo just walking around. She's like, I'm pretty fucking hot too in 1960. Why isn't anybody talking about me? Yeah, Yvonne DiCarlo was hot. Who is Yvonne DiCarlo? Well, she was Lily Munster. You guys watch the Munsters? Boom, 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 boom. Herman and Lily. She was Lily. Now, I never thought Lily was hot for a couple of reasons. Like, I think I first started watching the Munsters when I was, hot detecting. I didn't, my hotness detector wasn't working when I started watching the Munsters at like 5 years old or whatever. And then on the other hand, I was never into the goth thing. So even if that, I think maybe dudes who are into goth chicks, I think they're the ones who discovered how pretty Yvonne DiCarlo was long before I did. And then, at 4 years old, they're looking at Lily Munster going, she's so sexy. And then, cut to like 20 years later and they're dating like chicks who dress like members of The Cure. And maybe that explains it. Yvonne DiCarlo, we're putting her in heaven. Good for her. She was Lily Munster. I liked her. Boy, she controlled Herman, didn't she? She had Herman by the balls, man. Herman was so fucking henpecked. And I guess that's the reason, Fred Gwynne chose to play the character of Herman Munster against type, which the type, of course, is he's a monster who's out of control. So Fred Gwynne dramatically, shifted that sort of character, and he made him sort of this. I mean, Herman Munster could still fuck some shit up. That's like what I don't know that people really respected about that show. But for the grace of God, Herman put up with a lot of shit from people knocking on that door at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. That's the address of the Munsters. Yeah, I was a fan. Never really into Lily, though. Dead on this day, Yvonne DiCarlo, she goes to heaven. Dead on this day in 2020, Buck Henry. So Buck Henry is a writer. He's a television writer. He's a script writer. He was integral to the creation of Get Smart. He worked with Mel Brooks on a number of things. But Buck Henry, he also dabbled in a little bit of acting. He was like as D-list a celebrity in 1974 as like there could be. It was famous, maybe show up on a game show here or there. And he's always the guy who's like, wait, who's that? What show is that guy from? And you're like, no, he's not. He's just a writer who's popular because people think he's smart. That's who Buck Henry was. He died on this day in 2020. American actor, screenwriter, director. No real great fame. Nothing really to say. That is what we know Buck Henry from, other than, I guess, maybe his association with Get Smart. But again, that was back in the 1960s. Why Buck Henry is known is because Buck Henry was pals with a young Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels and Buck Henry were like both writers in Hollywood, before Lorne Michaels, and they were buddies. And Buck Henry held the position of emergency host for Saturday Night Live for like 5 years. The original run of the Not Ready for Primetime Players, occasionally people would fall out of bookings. This happened a lot in the early days because nobody knew if the show was still going to be around, and people committed to host. Yeah, I'll host Saturday Night Live 6 months from now. They would commit to that, and then it would get to that, and they wouldn't be like, no, he's unavailable. And then last minute, they need a host. That's Buck Henry. Buck Henry hosted Saturday Night Live in the early days, probably 10 times, and it was always a fucking beating. I was always like, oh, it's this guy again? This guy looks like a fucking dentist. Where's Carlin? I'm like 8 years old. I'm like, I need Pryor, I need Carlin, I need Belushi. I don't need this guy. So Buck Henry can go to hell because, quite frankly, every time he hosted Saturday Night Live when I was a kid, I was like, oh, God, it's going to be another one of these. With that said, he is responsible for one of the most... hold on, let's do this. Why not, right? I don't know why the computer's taking very long today. Hold on. Let me see if we have this. Oh, boy. Yeah, it looks like we've got a video of this. Wait, is there a video of it? I didn't really look to pull it because I didn't think there was any way. Is this it? Hold on. I'm trying to find. All right, so Buck Henry on Saturday Night, a character called Uncle Roy. Uncle Roy was a child molester. And it was one of the most... I thought it was hysterical, and I didn't even get why it was hysterical. It was the 70s, man. Everybody was on cocaine and disco music, and I guess there was nobody who went, is this okay for TV? Is this okay? And I think it is okay for TV. I think, people need to be selective. It is okay for TV. Is it edgy? Yeah. Yeah. Is there a place for edginess? Yeah. And that place is late night TV. So, I guess I don't really have a problem with it. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, no, that's not it. Okay. There is not a clip of Uncle Roy, but here we have this. Here's Buck Henry himself talking about Uncle Roy, the character. And maybe you have some explanation as to why we can't find the Uncle Roy skit from Saturday Night Live anywhere.
Uncle Roy was the babysitter, uncle of the kids, Lorraine Newman and Gilda Radner, who were like 8, 9, 10, 11, and he's the uncle you hope.
This dude is sitting down with the very, very well-respected Archive of American Television in Washington, D.C. to sincerely and seriously discuss the character of Uncle Roy. Oh, this will be good. Buckle up.
Doesn't show up at your 11, and he's the uncle you hope doesn't show up at your house because his relationship to the children is on the edge. But the great thing about the sketches, we did it twice only. See, people think we did it a lot of times, but we didn't.
No,
we did it twice. The best thing about the sketch to me was that they really loved each other, I think, and they thought too. So when I asked them to...
Okay, so we don't have an example of the sketch, but yeah, the children, Lorraine Newman and Gilda Radner, who were just playing with their Uncle Roy, who was babysitting, the children loved Uncle Roy, and they were innocent, and they had no idea what was going on. It was Uncle Roy. It was Uncle Roy's love for the children that is concerning, not,
each other. I think the sketch to me was that they really loved each other, I think, and they thought too. Yikes. So when I asked them to, throw down their little panties and let me take pictures of them standing on top of the coffee table, all this stuff, this nasty stuff, the giggling and the show of affection would just increase. I know those of you who are listening to this and have been badly mangled by your early history will not sympathize with my point of view, but still, I also had another rationalization for it. Both times the sketches were written by Ann Beatts and Rosie Schuster. Mm-hmm. So men did not have any input. I had little input, but the guys did not have input in the writing of them. And at the end of the second one, Danny Aykroyd and Jane, the parents of the little girls, come in and say what kind of, was it a good evening? And, we'd have a joke of some kind. And in the second one, they said something like, "Oh, you're so good to give up your evenings. There's nobody like you, Uncle Roy." And I looked in the camera and said, "Oh, I don't think that's true. I think there's an Uncle Roy in every family." And I thought, this is a great moment in which possibly I can start interesting conversations in families across America about who was the Uncle Roy.
All right. Wow. Okay. That kind of snuck out of left field on me. I didn't really, that's interesting. You could justify it by saying, that is what satire is. It is taking something that is true and wildly uncomfortable and only whispered about and making it front and center, blowing it up and having fun with it. That's satire. That's a good explanation. I'm putting him in heaven now. I'm putting him in heaven. He changed my mind on that. I'm like, look, it's still a gross, weird, cocaine-fueled disco era pedophile sketch. We're laughing at the idea of children being molested, but he saved it. I think he kind of saved it with that. Looking into the camera and saying, "Oh, I think every family's got an Uncle Roy." That starts a conversation. That's good. I like it. All right, moving on. We're putting him in heaven. We're changing the rules on there. All right, that's going to do it, folks. That is all. The first three quarters. Now we're going to move on to all the other things that we have. Once again, I'd like to suggest, if you have a spare moment, drop a little something in the tip jar, the Venmo, or the Cash App. We are in a pledge week. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who has helped get us this close. We're above schedule. We are above schedule. So I might even have a great announcement before Friday, which is wonderful. So, all right, thank you. Let's get into all the things that are happening right now in the world, the hot topics and all of that stuff. Okay, California fires. That's the first thing. Guys, I was up to like 1:30 in the morning last night, and that's late for me. That is late. I mean, I'm usually by 11. The dog usually goes to sleep around 10:30, and she's like now at the foot of the bed. So there's something about like a warm dog in the breathing. She's a big dog. So the big dog in the breathing and her constant that just lulls me into a coma. Like she falls asleep and then I'm like, and I fall asleep too. So, but last night I was up late. I was watching this California stuff. My goodness. I mean, the California fires first broke as a news story at the end of yesterday's show. And we're watching and I'm like, apparently there's a fire in California. Yeah, it's probably nothing. Have a good day, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. I didn't know. I had no idea. I would have stayed on. And covered that nonsense. That's what it is. It's nonsense. It's Mother Nature nonsense. Holy shit. 1:30 in the morning. My guy, shout out to the great Steve Lookner at Agenda Free TV. If you people are not following, subscribing to, do whatever it is on YouTube or Twitter or wherever it is that you use, to Steve Lookner and Agenda Free TV. I've been telling you about this guy for years. He's amazing. I have such a level of respect for what he is able to do as ostensibly a one-man band. He looks like a one-man band. Steve covers breaking news every day. That's his job. That is his job. He sits in a room, and if news breaks, boom, he goes on a stream, and he covers it live, and he covers it until it's done being covered. He started his coverage of the California fires yesterday at like 4:00 in the afternoon. I tuned in at 11 p.m. and he was still going. When I was asleep at 1:30, he was still covering the fires. He is, and you know, honestly, he's very wealthy. He is rewarded. He does his show on tips too. That's how he makes his money. You can tip during his live streams, and he makes thousands of dollars per live stream. I've counted. You better believe I'm counting. So I just couldn't be happier for that guy. That guy is found lightning in a bottle that I'm seeking for. You know, I'm searching myself, trying to figure that out. Thought a consistent everyday hot topic show might take off, but I can't even get you people to share this thing. I get Adam. Adam shares it every day. But yeah, so I was up till like 1:30. I finally fell asleep. This fire shit, man. 4 fires currently burning, and 4 much bigger than the one yesterday at around 3:00 in the afternoon. We had word of the first fire. That was the Pacific Palisades fire that was burning out of control. And the Pacific Palisades fire was of extreme interest, and not to be confused with was it the Fordham fire? Well, let's call it the Pepperdine fire from a couple of weeks ago. Remember, Pepperdine University in Malibu was under threat. This is different. This one, the Pacific Palisades fire, is different than that one, as that fire broke out in the canyons. There is a lot of rolling land where that fire broke out, and the path of that fire, it did some damage to some things, but not a whole lot. About a mile to the south there, right there on Santa Monica Bay, mile to the south, just south, one town over from Malibu, okay? You have Pacific Palisades. Pacific Palisades, people, is fucking Plano, okay? It's Frisco, maybe South Lake, because it's very expensive. But it is house after house after house after house after house. That whole area is being wiped out by an out-of-control fire that has been burning since about, well, they say it started at 8:30 in the backyard of someone's house. Like somebody didn't start it themselves. It started organically, but just as a small fire in someone's backyard. But then the winds, they've got these insane, are these the Santa Ana winds that I hear of? They've got these insane winds blowing 130 mile per hour winds clocked last night. Incredibly dry, high winds, brush fire central. That's a bad one. Pacific Palisades is bad, and we'll cover some of the things from that. Then there's the Eaton Canyon fire. The Eaton Canyon is a little bit further, well, I don't know, north, I guess, because it's up the canyon, but it might actually be east. I don't know how it works with mountains. I come from flat places, Chicago and Texas. The Eaton Canyon fire is another one that is broken out this one broke out yesterday evening, and this one started to burn again residential areas. These are people's houses. These are house, driveway, mailbox, block after block after block. It's Southern California. It isn't rural Nebraska. Millions and millions and millions of people. I mean, this is a devastating fire simply because of the location. That's Eaton, and that's Pacific Palisades. Then we've got now the Hearst fire, which broke out last night. Now I believe the Hearst fire is a little bit further up the coast towards, I'm going to pull up a map here. Here's what we'll do. I'm sorry. Why am I explaining this? Should be doing a map so we can show, because they actually on the map, they show the fires. They show us where we are on the fires. Anyway, there's 4 fires. There's Hearst, there's Woodley, there's Eaton, and there's Palisades. And they are 0% contained. They are still, a day later, burning out of control through some of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the United States. There are videos that are just everyone's version of hell, right? What do you picture hell is? What do you think hell is when you lay in your bed at night and you imagine all of these mystical things? What do you think hell is? I saw a video last night that I went, that's hell. That's exactly what hell is. All right, let's pull up this map and let's take a look at where some of these fires are burning. Luckily, and maybe this is why, does it not get your attention if there's not thousands of dead people? I was talking to somebody earlier and they're like, yeah, well, there's no casualties. Okay, first of all, there are 2 dead. There are 2 dead right now. That's what we know. Those are just like the 2 dead that are turned up. Don't act like there's not going to be a huge body count. They ain't counting bodies right now. They've got 0% of 4 massive brush fires in heavily populated areas to deal with. They're evacuating people. They're rescuing people. I did hear a horrifying number this morning on the news. Thousands. We don't have a number of deaths. Thousands of burn victims. What? Applause. Thousands of burn victims. To what extent? We don't know. Last night there was some live video that was being shown. For any of you who have driven the Pacific Coast Highway, if you're familiar with this stretch of road, it is one of the most beautiful drives in all of America. My God, it is heart-stopping. The only prettier drive that I've ever experienced is the Ring of Kerry in Ireland. But as far as America or this country goes, well, I guess that would be America, it's Pacific Coast Highway. It's beautiful. So when you drive Pacific Coast Highway, one of the things is, especially if you're staying in LA, like I'll tell you how we did it. We're staying in LA for the Grammys. We're like, let's drive Pacific Coast Highway. We'll rent a car. We rented a Miata. Remember the Miatas? Remember those things? The little convertibles? Oh my God, it was so much fun. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. Me and my son's mother were racing around Pacific Coast Highway in this little tiny Miata sports car, acting like Jonathan and whoever the hell that chick was, the Hearts, on Heart to Heart, rolling through the canyons. We stopped at Duke's in Malibu. This is where we had lunch. I don't know if you're familiar with Duke's in Malibu. If you've driven Pacific Coast Highway, it's a place where people stop. They stop and they have lunch because they can sit out there on Duke's deck, which is in the water, and you can watch dolphins and shit like that. It was amazing. Duke's is also the place where famously Mel Gibson behaves really badly. Mel Gibson, it's the bar that Mel Gibson walks to. Yeah, he got in trouble a couple of years ago for grabbing a chick's ass at Duke's, and I'm like, I've been to Duke's. Dukes is iconic. Were the Dolphins jumping? Anyway, there were live reports last night from Dukes in Malibu. It was set up as a triage station because they were being flooded with hundreds and hundreds of people suffering burns, some of them severely. This is a nightmare that's going on, and I don't know that we really know what the extent of this is. So, scary fucking shit. All right, here we go. Let's look at where this is happening, right? All right, let's go down here. Here we go. We're going to see the fires. Long Beach, we go up a little bit north. Here we go. All right, so let's see. Right now on Google Maps, we're only showing the Pacific Palisades fire, and that sucks because I wanted to show you guys the triangle that seems to be engulfed. Oh, here we go. Here's the first Hearst fire. Maybe I need to pull out a little more. All right, so here we go. Here's the Pacific Palisades fire. Here is the Hearst fire. Here is the Eaton fire. I do not see the Woodley fire. Do not know where the Woodley fire is. So let's talk about the Palisades fire, okay? Let's zoom in on that a little bit. Did I lose the Palisades? Hold on. Long Beach. Where am I? God damn it. Where's Malibu? Fuck is Malibu? I'm in Bakersfield? Wait a second. I'm San Diego? Wait, it's over here somewhere. It's in here, right? It's in here. Long Beach. Long Beach is like the shitty part, I believe. Sunset Beach. Here we go. El Segundo. Santa. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So this is the Palisades fire in here. Okay. So, like, you see this, right? Like here's the fire. The fire is here. It is racing down the mountain. I mean, you see what's down here. You see this. This is being destroyed as we speak. 0% containment. They're not trying to fight the fire at this point. They're trying to get as many people out of there and to safety as possible. All of these areas, there are over 1 million. Wait, what was the number? I don't want to get the number wrong. Anyway, the amount of people who are under evacuation right now in Southern California is astonishing. You can't move that many people out in what time? Anyway, okay, so now let's look at what is the other one. This is unbelievable. Where's the Eaton fire is the other one that I was watching last night. That one's over near Pasadena. Where's Pasadena? All right, you know what? I'm wasting too much time here. I apologize. Let's look at some of these videos, okay? Now, when I tell you what I imagine hell is, this is hell. This is the viral video from the fires. You've probably seen it. I'm not breaking any news here. It's been going around. This is horrifying. These are two people in their home in Pacific Palisades. I don't know why they're not gone. I don't know if they're trapped. Apparently, they're okay. Apparently, that question was asked by everybody. Did they get out alive? Apparently, they did get out alive. But check this out. Imagine this was your... What did you do Tuesday night? Imagine this is your Tuesday night. Look at this.
Hi. Just be okay. You're gonna be okay. Hi.
Oh.
You're gonna be okay.
Dog is freaking. Horse.
Shit.
And also, how hot is it? Like, is that an oven? Are they in an oven? Like, even if the flames don't directly come into, I mean, isn't shit going to start to melt? Isn't the ceiling going to start to melt? Isn't the interior temperature of that living room that they're in about to become like a 400-degree pizza oven? Jesus.
Don't worry about that, dude. Look at that. Oh, shit.
This is how you living, folks. I mean,
yeah.
All right, once again, I want to recap. I ain't moving anywhere where there's a chance that there's going to be a bear in my driveway or in my garbage cans. Check. I'm not moving anywhere where while walking the dog, I got to be aware that there's some crocodiles running around. Ain't moving there. I ain't moving anywhere where this fucking shit happens. I would love to live in Malibu. Are you kidding me? That's a dream. I want to be like 80 years old living in Malibu. Just like that's all I want. I want one of those Malibu beach homes. I mean, it ain't gonna happen, but we set goals. That's the other thing. All of these houses too. Don't kid yourself. These are, oh my God. I don't live in Pacific Palisades. No, people like me don't live in Pacific Palisades. I was on Zillow. I'm looking at these houses. Because here's the thing, I'm hearing police reports. This is what I did last night. I'm hearing the police reports on the scanner. Then they're giving out direct addresses. So I hear the report on the scanner. I put it into the Google Maps. I pull the house up. I look at the house. Then I go to Zillow. I had the address into Zillow. I was on Zillow Pacific Palisades last night. I'm like, that's a $46 million house. That's a $46 million, 2,500 square foot house. Yeah. Oh, they got some fucked up square footage prices there. Tiny normal houses like Frisco houses for like, 10 million. Are you kidding me? No backyard. Yes, but you're close to the beach. Yeah, I'm also close to these raging fires.
The plastic is gone, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
Unbelievable.
So, where's the gas?
Outside.
Okay, the gas is off right now.
Look at that. Look at that. That is hell. That is what life in hell is. Look at that.
No, don't open the window.
Don't open the window. I imagine the window's really fucking hot.
Stay over here.
Don't break the window. You'll get like a flamethrower come through there like, whoa. Oh my God, these people. All right, we got more to look at here. These are a couple of people who were forced out of their home as it began to burn. Let's see. This is this? Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's watch this. These poor people. This is, again, I asked, what did you do last night?
All right, dude. Yeah, let's get out of here. We tried, bro. I'm sorry. We tried our best. Yeah, and when this tree falls, it's over.
Look at this. This is outside. Everything is on fire. The air is on fire. There are flaming embers flying like snowflakes. What level of hell is this?
Sorry, bro. Gotta get out of here.
That tree is just on fire. The tree is just on fire.
Oh, shit. Holy shit. Did that tree fall?
Oh. All right. Oh, my goodness. Poor people. All right. It looks like people are getting out. It looks like a lot of people are being burned. And I can totally understand why people would be burned. You're running down the street like that, trying to get out of your house, run into your car, getting shit into your car. Meanwhile, it's snowing fire. Yeah, I mean, I can totally see how people got burned. I had third-degree burns on the back of my neck when a shingle from my roof blew off and caught my back of my head on fire. That's the little shit. And again, without talking about body counts and what we know, we won't know until this whole thing burns out and then we start finding bodies. We start finding old people. We start finding the neighborhood weirdo who didn't leave. This is horrible. This is horrible, again, not because we're unaccustomed to the idea of wildfires in Southern California. It's horrible because of where this one is happening. And it speaks to, nature versus an economic engine. Should people be living here? Should people be living in a place where this is a natural occurring part of the order of things? Horrible. All right. Also, the canyons up there, famous for their horse ranches. Horses. The body count on horses could be astronomical, as there are hundreds and hundreds of horse ranches in the middle of all of this. Here we go. Here's one from last night. Some horses being rescued. Watch what emerges from the smoke. This is what the fire and the smoke. What is this? It's the horsemen. Please don't be 4 horses. Is it only 3? It's 3. That's good. Would you just look at the backdrop? Would you just look at what they're walking out of? I can't wrap my mind around this. All right, there you go. Absolutely horrifying. People of California taking it on the chin. Let's see here. Let's got one more. This will give you an idea of the densely populated neighborhoods that are just on fire. I don't know how to explain this to you. When a tornado rips through a neighborhood, it makes a path, and there are houses left completely unscathed. This ain't that. Every house is on fire in this neighborhood. Every house, probably a subdivision with 2,000 homes. Every one of them is engulfed in flames, and ain't nobody putting it out. The economic price of this, home costs, because all of these homes they're in a home. There's not one home on fire that's less than $2 million. Okay? Jesus, this is going to be bad. They had just, what did Trump tell us to do a bunch of years ago? Rake the forest. If we had just raked the forest, I'm sure we wouldn't be. Here you go. All right, watch this. Just a dude driving down the street filming his neighborhood. Good Lord. You guys, this is video game shit. This is post-apocalyptic zombie video game shit.
Oh my God.
These are people's lives.
You want to do it? Let's do it.
Oh my God. All right. So there you have it. Okay, a couple of interesting celebrity stories. Number of celebrities. Let me make something perfectly clear. Yes, there's going to be stories of some celebrities, but these are, for the most part, these are real people. These are real people, successful people. But they're not all like Hollywood baby blood drinkers. These are real American citizens who are going to need not only our best thoughts and prayers, if that's what you're into, but they're also going to need some help after this. And that's, me. Here goes Pugs talking about how he thinks the government should do something. Well, that's the purpose of having a government, the purpose of being a part of a community of states. Yeah, so there's going to have to be a bailout for California. There's going to have to be. This is horrible. But again, I might ask the question in the future, why the fuck are people living there if we know this is going to happen? But there are some celebrities whose homes have been, they've been evacuated. Kamala Harris, vice president, her house, they had to evacuate. They are out. Nobody can go to the Kamala Harris, Doug, what's his name? Forgot his name already. Doug, whatever the face. What's his name? Doug Einstein? No. Anyway, they had to leave their house. A number of people, a bunch of people. 2 celebrities, though. There are 2 celebrities who are being pitted against each other online. It's very funny. One is James Woods, who is one of the skankiest motherfuckers Hollywood has ever produced. This dude's like 70, and he's got 3 girlfriends, and I don't think they're 60 combined. He's a famous sleazy guy who's constantly with like a 19-year-old girl, whatever, and he's just tremendous actor. I think James Woods, nobody plays a fucking scumbag like James Woods. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe he's not a great actor. Maybe he's just is a scumbag and he plays that so well. Personally, I remember him from the miniseries Holocaust on NBC back in the 1970s. And I can attest, no, he's a fucking good actor. James Woods is a great actor. Total sleazeball, though. Super sleazy. Anyway, point is this. James Woods had his house burned. James Woods had to run. James Woods ran from his house which, is understandable. He ran from his house and then he tweeted, he's like, I'm at the Palm Springs Four Seasons, whatever. He ran and checked into some fancy resort with his hot girlfriend and he's posting on Instagram about it and everybody's fucking giving him shit. They're like, well, look at you, the Ted Cruz of Southern California, which is a bit unfair. I don't know what he's supposed to do. He's not an elected official. He's got the means. If James Woods wants to bail on his community and go ride it out at the Four Seasons Palm Springs, who cares? Ain't a big deal. It's his prerogative. All right, so he's being unfairly and unfavorably compared to Steve Guttenberg, of course, of the Police Academy movies. The great Guttenberg. Dude went away, seems to have been okay with it. Guttenberg was famous. Can I ask you a question? Was Guttenberg famous? Steve Guttenberg? 3 Men and a Little Lady, Police Academy. I understand those were high-profile platforms, and I understand that he was quite good in the funny, all that. But they kind of forced him on us, didn't they? Didn't Hollywood kind of be like, hey, here's a guy. He's got a crazy last name, refuses to change it. You're going to like him. And we all went, okay. And Steve Guttenberg became like a thing for like 5, 6, 7 years. But then it stopped. And I don't know if it stopped because he was like, shit, got in my bag, which is admirable. If Steve Guttenberg looked in the mirror in 1996 and went, I got my bag, I'm going to chill for the rest of my life, I admire that, and I think that's great. But I think maybe the shit work dried up for old Steve Guttenberg. I think maybe the phone wasn't ringing. At any rate, he's been in obscurity now, at least as far as I can tell, for about 20 years. Steve Guttenberg did the opposite of James Woods. Steve Guttenberg's house in the same neighborhood was also engulfed in flames. Steve Guttenberg was like being followed by a local LA news crew. They were live. They just started following him. They pointed him out as Steve Guttenberg and they were trying to interview him. And there was this like live stream thing where they're like, hey, Mr. Guttenberg, can we talk to you? And he's like, no. And he like runs right past them and he's right. He was doing the shit. Steve Guttenberg's neighborhood was burning down and he was doing the shit. And by doing the shit, he was helping to remove cars. He was getting people into buses. He was ushering people. He was like forming. He did a lot. And then finally they stopped. It was one of the last things I remember watching on the live stream last night before I fell asleep. But it was like, he was taking a break and they started talking to Steve Guttenberg and he's just a lovely man. It wasn't about, could you tell us how this compares to the time you were on the set of 3 Men and a Little Baby? It wasn't that. It was cool. And so now, of course, because of that KTLA profile on Steve Guttenberg, putting on the cape and, being a mensch, if you will, if I may be so bold as to use a word I think the Guttenbergs might appreciate. He was cool. So James Woods is being compared to Steve Guttenberg in the battle of the has-beens, which unfair to Guttenberg. Like to see Guttenberg get some work out of this if he wants it. How about, hey, Rob Lowe? I bet Rob Lowe knows Steve Guttenberg. Rob Lowe's got a fire show, right? Austin, Texas on fire, 911 or whatever, right? Lone Star, 911. Isn't that it? That's what it is. Rob Lowe. Down there, a fire chief in Austin. That's what he should let Guttenberg come on that show. Give Guttenberg a job. Give him a role. He's a real life fire hero. All right. And again, fire is not in control. It is still burning. Who knows? They're saying the winds are dying down. That's a good sign. The problem is that the wind is the problem because you see bushes catch on fire and then, embers. But when the wind is pushing those embers at, as they said, was it Mount something? What is the highest point in Southern California? It's some giant, and they always do wind readings there. It was 130 mile per hour wind gusts blowing burnt countryside. Just absolutely horrendous. All right. Spent a lot of time on that. Spent a lot of time on too much shit today. We are running out of time. I'm going to have to bail here in the next 10 minutes or so. But don't fear. Guess what? Special show. We're coming back tonight. Me and James Parker. That's right. The 2025 debut of Pugs and Parker will be on tonight. Or is it Parker and Pugs? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here at Radio Misfits. We're going to be doing those regularly. James and I are. James, of course, afternoons on 93.3 WBAP here in Dallas, Fort Worth. He's going to be coming over here and we're going to be chopping it up just like we used to do back in the day. So like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. And you'll get to hear James and I. I think James and I are going to go deep on Joy Taylor, which will be interesting because that's kind of what a number of people have been said to have done. I think we're going to talk about the Joy Taylor and Fox Sports 1 thing as well as some other stuff. I don't know, whatever it is. Me and James, we'll get into it. Snowstorm coming, right? What is the revised forecast for the snowstorm? Isn't this what we're all waiting on? This right now, 1:50 on Wednesday afternoon. We're like, are we all going to be dead on Saturday morning? Like, what is going to happen here in the next 48 hours? They originally started telling us 15 to 18. Remember Frankie McDonald, the Nova Scotia, the retarded kid in the retarded kid from Nova Scotia who does incredible weather reports. He's so passionate. If you don't love and appreciate what he's bringing to the weather game, then, you're dead inside. Frankie McDonald said 12 to 15 inches. See, Frankie's retarded, but what am I supposed to do here? He got that from somewhere. They've revised that. I saw something this morning. I'm like, 1 to 3 inches. And I'm like, fuck, what? Okay. All right. 1 to 3 inches now. So we should expect a snowfall beginning at midnight tonight. It's not going to begin at midnight. We're all going to stay up till midnight to see if it actually started. I bet it starts. Ooh, here it is. Well, we don't have legal sports betting here in Texas, but I would like to do a prop bet. Does it snow? The snow is predicted to begin at midnight. Does the snow begin before midnight Central Time in North Texas or after midnight Central Time in North Texas? I don't know. Prediction says midnight. So anywhere from 12 to 18 billion inches to like 1 to 3. It's going to be 1 to 3. 1 to 3 is nothing. I don't get out of bed for 1 to 3. I wipe my ass with 1 to 3 inches. I'm from Chicago. 1 to 3 inches? What? That 1 to 3 inches were like it didn't even snow. 1 to 3 inches in a place that doesn't get snow is still going to fuck shit up pretty good. So regardless, I believe schools are probably all going to be closed, right? Here in North Texas. 1, 2, 3 inches and icing roads. And as long as the temperature stays where it is, which right now, where is the temperature? If the temperature stays below freezing, whatever falls will stick and it'll create travel problems here. Let's see. What do we got? Well, my phone is telling me to expect a wintry mix. So, that's a wintry mix. That's rain. That's because what? Now it's not even, it's 39 degrees. 39 degrees. We're going to get rain, dude. We're going to get rain and it's going to be nothing. Let's see here. Let me see. When does the temperature begin to drop? All right, 11 o'clock, we're still at 34. At 12, that's when they said the snow was going to start. It's still 33. All right, now they got the snow starting at 7 a.m. when they finally have the temperature dropping between 32 under freezing. All right, so we're looking at now it looks like instead of starting overnight, so we're going to wake up to all this nonsense. Now it looks like we're going to get in our car and we're going to start our commute tomorrow morning in the nonsense. The nonsense looks to begin at 7 a.m. This is according to the National Weather Service. 7 a.m. continuing, and noon, still snowing throughout the day. Here's the good news, though. They aren't saying like, well, okay. I was going to say there is still a severe weather alert winter storm warning for North Texas, 6 a.m. Central Time until Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time, Thursday. So Thursday, 6 a.m. So it's tomorrow morning. So starting tomorrow, it's just in time for rush hour. So even because of this revised forecast, I would imagine schools are just going to get closed now. Because it's different if it's supposed to start at midnight and then by 6 a.m. you can be like, okay, this wasn't that bad. Maybe get it a little cleaned up. But if it's starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, you don't know how bad it's going to be. So they're just going to stop all school buses. There's going to be no bus services for kids. So they're just going to cancel school. Kids don't go to school anymore, man. Kids were off Monday after having like not 2 weeks. I used to get 2 weeks. We used to get the week of Christmas and then the week of New Year, and then we went back to school. They got like 3 weeks off, and then they were off the return Monday. And then the kids here in North Texas, they went to school today, yesterday, and then I think Thursday and Friday are going to be canceled because of, whatever this is that's coming. Let me see. Let's see if we get the latest here. Do we have any good? Does Frankie McDonald have a revised forecast? All right, let's see. My God, I'm dumb. I just put forecast DFW. All right. 2 hours ago, the winter storm warning was reissued. It says City of Euless is tweeting. They say a winter storm warning for Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex has been issued. Thank you, City of Euless. TxDOT, crews have been transforming equipment ahead of the expected winter weather event. Snow plow blades are being attached to trucks and materials are all in place. Ladies and gentlemen, TxDOT is on the case. Hey, ERCOT, how you guys doing? You better fucking ERCOT. You better keep our power on. We got big football. Oh, get out of here. Think about that. ERCOT going to shut my power off at halftime of the Notre Dame game? Are you insane? ERCOT, are we going to have power for Texas, Ohio State on Friday? Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Fuck this storm. All right, everybody bear with me. We'll get through it. Do I have anything else? Okay, well, I'll leave you with this. No. I can't leave you with this. All right, maybe we'll talk about it later tonight. I got to get out of here, though. We're done with the show today. Thank you to everybody who helped. Thank you for those of you who participated in our little drive to get to our needed number for the month. You're the best. Again, any friends of Devin Pike out there, if you can slide into my DMs or send me an email, just let me know what you know. Devin and I were working together on something, and he seems to have disappeared. So reach out to me if you have any information. Maybe it's none of my business, and that's fine. It's none of my business. We'll just move on. But if there's anything I can do, or if there's anything you can share about the whereabouts of my director, help me out. Okay. Other than that, you guys are the best. Thank you to everyone. Thank you again to Mama B, and thank you again to Kim, and thank you again to Barney, and thank you to Frankie. Those are the people who helped out and made this show possible. We'll see how we get tomorrow. We're still trying to raise a little bit more. We'll see. I think we're doing way better than I thought. I can't tell you how happy I am. All right, I love you guys. We'll see you tonight. Me and Parker, Pugs and Parker. Like, follow, subscribe. Probably around 7 o'clock, maybe earlier. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be up there. The video will be there. You don't have to be there live. We'd love it if you would. Bye.